Hello there, sword friends. Just want to do a quick chat about this wanto, or tanto as it were. We call it the wanto because of its very pronounced or very substantial size and just kind of overall look. It's been dubbed the wanto, a mix of wakizashi tanto. Anyway, this is a Howard Clark L6 tanto that was finished up recently, and I thought I would just take a moment to walk you through some of the cool stuff that happened. I'm especially impressed with this mostly because of really the thought I put into it. I had this swirly Mitsudome looking Kashira here. I had these Menuki with kind of mismatched moans, and I had this Tsuba here that is an antique and signed, but you know, just an odd size that I didn't really have much to do with. So I sent the parts and said, do really whatever you want. And this is what I got back, and for that amount of direction, I'm very impressed with how it came out. So let's just talk about some of the stuff. First, just looking at the saya here. Black Ishimae finish, and then underneath here there's this blue metallic kind of pearl looking stuff over what looks like a black base, and it might not come out in the sun super well here, but it's got a very subtle but really bright in the right light kind of look. It's got a buffalo horn kojiri, and then inside each one of these little grooves there's this same blue metallic stuff that really has to have the bright light to bring it out. Now also these grooves, they're on both sides, but you'll notice along the spine here that they're offset, and it's different, it's cool. One way here it looks like something, then another. It has a bit of character to it. I didn't expect to like this as much as I did. When I noticed it, I was like, oh, what the hell, but then it grows on me. I actually think it's a cool feature at this point. The kruikata is made of horn, as is the koiguchi. It holds on. Notice that the Tsuba has a little wiggle to it. This is an antique piece, and I was a little rough taking it off, and it's pretty pliable, so this is my doing. I want to point that out. And something that's not overly difficult to correct. I'm not really concerned about it though, so as you look at this new project, some people see a loose Tsuba and think, oh, it's broken, it's terrible, how could that happen? It's really not that big a deal. It's pretty easy to remedy if it bothers you, and for what this is, it's not an overly big concern for me. But the thing to note about the Tsuba is that this is a rounded, just simple antique Tsuba, but it has a signature underneath. I can't remember where exactly I got it, but probably also in some other acquisition or trade. The Kashira here has these simple moans on it that you know, when I saw this on eBay, I got it because naturally it's got a swirly Mitsudome on it, but I never found the match for it, and I was looking for years, but I never really found something that fit in terms of a matching Kashira. So it has these moans on it, and then the Menuki are pretty substantial in size, and they really obscure the samegawa, but I like that the little gold embellishments on it really don't, again, nothing pulls my eye away from everything as a whole. There's little gold bits here, but nothing inherently really steals my attention by itself. I've kind of absorbed the piece all as one, which is an aesthetic that I like. And given the direction that I provided, I'm really happy that seems to be achieved here. Underneath here, though, the samegawa has little nodules that appears to have been aged, so that there's little bits in between the cracks of the samegawa that accentuate the nodules. The ito is also worth really noting here. I think this is called Jabara-maki, where this is not a piece of silk like a conventional. Normally, ito comes similar to this segeo, so you may see differences in it, but it's all one thread that's wound around. Each one of these colors is separate blue and black threads, and I think this is an 8-stranded wrap. So it's much more of a pain in the ass to do, or maybe it's 4 strands or 8 strands, I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, the point is that each one of these black and blue little coils is a separate silk thread, and it's a big pain in the ass to do this. It's typically seen on kind of higher end fancy things. I don't know how much it really adds to durability. I would suspect probably not much, or maybe it's not the most durable, but it is tight. It is exactly what I would expect from a custom mount. It's just a lot more detailed and ornate and difficult to do, and on a fancy tanto like this, I think it suits well. The Menuki again are quite large and oversized, but I think they came out well. Now the Kashira is made of horn. I couldn't find a Kashira to match this Fuchi here, and I was a little nervous about how that would look, and frankly it doesn't look bad at all. I like how everything kind of is tied together throughout the whole presentation. It kind of looks, I'm surprised at how just comfortable and easy peasy it looks. I thought it would be more of a detractor from my perspective. The waisted grip also looks really, really nice. Onto a component on the blade here. The Habaki was made by Howard out of copper. It was really tight. When I sent this blade off to polish, I couldn't get the darn Habaki off. So it was on there pretty good. The blade was polished by Josiah Boomershine. I've talked about his capabilities as a polisher, fittings maker, sword mounter, sword maker in the past, but he did the polish on this one, and I have to say I am very pleased with how it came out. I mean, frankly, it's just the characteristic of Howard's work here. There's not a ton to look at. There's not a lot of banding effects in the steel to look at. It has this very subtle hamon with some character that runs along, but it's just a very pragmatic, simple, minimalist presentation here. And I've heard these before, being accused of being called very tool looking, and I don't know that I necessarily disagree with that. It's a beautiful tool. It has character, and there's a lot that I like about it, but admittedly there's not a hata or as much activity to really get lost in. It's a very pragmatic and deliberate, awesome super steel made kind of thing, made by a guy that knows what he's doing. So how this came out, I really like it. It's in terms of the polish, you'll notice that it's got like a mirror polish along this part of the blade, and then it becomes more subtle along this part, right? So it's not just one mirror polish. You've got a mirror, very shiny bit along the spine, and then it tapers and kind of masks and becomes a little foggier along the cutting plane of the blade. And that really helps kind of, I don't know, just it makes a subtle change in the look of the polish, and it really brings out the hamon here. It's very easy to see. I'm obviously in sunlight, which is helping that, but very easy to see. A very beautiful looking sword, or wanto as I call it. If I take the blade apart, let's see. Now there's actually a little bit of a story here along this Nakago, because initially when I sent this to be mounted, it did not have a hole drilled in the Nakago, this Nakago Ana, the hole where the not the Nakago Ana, the Makugi Ana, where this Makugi rests. So it wasn't in here, and to get it in there was a bit of a pain. Banite can be a very, very resilient steel, and it was very challenging for the mounter here to get this hole drilled in it. And Howard provided some sage advice in terms of getting it done, but Banite, the way he made this was very resilient, and it was somewhat objectionable to having a hole drilled in it. So this hole came with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and I'm truly appreciative of everyone's efforts to get it done. It sounds like a simple enough thing, drill a hole, you see it on TV and stuff. You don't realize that sometimes these simple things can be quite a task when you're dealing with a steel like Banite here, or L6. Anyway, this is the little Nakago, and you can see where it kind of rests on the handle. Here's the Tsuba. It might not come through super well, but it has a signature there, and as you can see, it's pretty easy to kind of punch these little copper bits here just to give it a little bit more tightness, which I think I'm going to do now. Well. There we go. Now, what does a person do with a tanto like this? I suppose that's another question that might be asked, and well, I don't necessarily know that I have the answer. This is a badass tanto, and a lot of times these will just stay wrapped and stuck in somebody's obi as they practice. So not a lot of people are necessarily doing kata or anything like that with a tanto, but they will rest in somebody's obi, kind of as decoration while they're doing practice. People do cut with them now. A lot of times, at least in Toyama, people are cutting with a wakizashi, and so they're looking for something very substantial in size to cut with, as opposed to a wanto or a very big knife. Now this is almost wakizashi length in size. Trusty tape measure here. We've got I don't know, a little over 11 inches. Now it'd have to be over 12 inches to be considered a wakizashi, so it's just a very substantial sized tanto, but I imagine it would be quite good in the cut. Anyway, this is something that I'll probably end up selling here. I really like it now that it's done. I don't mind having it around. It's pretty, but this is probably going to go up for sale in the not too distant future, so I can move on to other fun projects. But I am really happy with how it came out. It's very pretty, very fun. It's a good looking little sword. Anyway, folks, if you have any interest in getting your swords mounted, hopefully this maybe provided you with some ideas. The cool thing to note is that some of these antique fittings are available for pretty modest prices. You can find them on eBay. They're around, and you can end up with something pretty like this. I hope it's been of some interest to watch, and as always, cheers and thanks for watching.